Former Prime Minister, now Foreign Minister Kevin Rudd has hit the road in his new job this afternoon, heading for Pakistan and the United Nations in New York after attempting to put the recent past behind him, leaving the Prime Minister to focus on her latest challenge, independent Rob Oakeshott's surprise revelation that he would like to consider being the new Speaker of the Parliament. Opposition leader Tony Abbott, meanwhile, is suggesting he'll be attempting to get the independents to join in opposing Labor's national broadband network. Political editor Heather Hewitt reports.
Hey, you guys.
He's back and making sure everyone knows it.
Okay, you ready to rock and roll up there? Good. Later today, I'll be flying to the flood-affected areas of Pakistan and then to Washington and then to New York.
Less than 24 hours after being sworn in as Foreign Minister, the former Prime Minister has resumed his globe-trotting ways. And his first task is to urge the international community to do more for flood-stricken Pakistan.
The reason I'm going to Pakistan is that when I was briefed by AusAid officials earlier in the week, it's quite plain that we're in the process of seeing a slow burn humanitarian disaster in that country. A humanitarian disaster potentially of horrendous proportions.
Kevin Rudd will address the United Nations in New York next week, a role that's normally reserved for the Prime Minister. But Julia Gillard figures she has enough on her plate right now, settling in the new minority government. That suits Kevin Rudd just fine. He'll be centre stage and sees foreign policy as safe territory. Domestic politics is not.
I don't intend to engage in any retrospectives whatsoever on recent political events, including the conduct of the last federal election.
How would you describe your current relationship with the Prime Minister, and is there more than a crack of light between the two of you?
The Prime Minister and I had a great discussion on Monday covering a whole range of foreign policy measures. It went for an hour or so, and we covered a lot of turf. That relationship is a very productive and professional relationship, and I'm sure it will be continued to be conducted on that basis.
The rest of his Labor colleagues certainly hope so, but they're all too aware there's no dodging the relationship being in the public spotlight for some time yet. Julia Gillard can't afford to have her predecessor outperform her on foreign policy, and will need to display some expertise in the area sooner rather than later. Today, she was busy defending the last-minute changes she'd made to the titles of some of her ministries.
I'm the sort of person who on Christmas Day wants to rip the packaging off and see what the present is. Other people like to look at the wrapping paper and comment on that. So I wanted to get right down to the substance. Now, obviously, there were some comments about ministerial titles, some further decisions I had to make. The day on which all of that had to be clarified was yesterday, and of course it was.
The changes under pressure from the university sector and Indigenous health community, amongst others, weren't the only things noticed at yesterday's swearing-in ceremony. All media eyes, it seems, were trained on Kevin Rudd and how he and his colleagues were responding to one another.
You looked quite pained and uncomfortable. Why was that?
I love these psychoanalyses of how I look. What's your qualification, by the way? Are you like David Marr, got a PhD in the discipline, or what? I just think this stuff is great. How long did the ceremony go for yesterday, guys?
It was boring.
Can someone give me how long it was? Okay, did you study everyone's faces for an hour and a half as to whether they maintained an absolute gaze of unmitigated engagement with every scintilla of it? Probably not. Probably not.
Suffice to say, Kevin Rudd didn't exactly look as though he was surrounded by close friends. And you can bet the opposition will be seeking to point to this at every opportunity. Today, though, Tony Abbott's emphasis was on the national broadband network, as he moved to highlight the appointment of Malcolm Turnbull as his communications spokesman, and signalled they'd be trying to win over the independents to change sides.
I think that's what we should be doing, and as I said, I think with someone like Malcolm in charge of communications policy, in charge of exposing the waste and extravagance inherent in the government's broadband plans, that becomes a very real prospect.
It's not something Tony Windsor is entertaining, and his fellow independent Rob Oakeshott doesn't see it as a game changer either, though he's welcomed Malcolm Turnbull's appointment. No, Rob Oakeshott is more interested in other matters at the moment. Having knocked back the offer of a government ministry, he's now eyeing off the position of Speaker in the House of Representatives.
There's a couple of constitutional issues that need to be clarified But if they can be resolved, I'll be putting my hand up, and hopefully it's a step into the centre of political debate, working daily with people such as Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott, and therefore, as a local member, really representing front and centre.
Not exactly what Labor and the Coalition had in mind when they were negotiating parliamentary reforms with the independents. This one comes out of left field, and it's not clear yet how either side will deal with it.
Incidentally, our attempts since the election to get an interview with Mr Abbott, including today, have so far been unsuccessful. Malcolm Turnbull also declined an interview for tonight. Political editor Heather Hewitt.